While we have always kept a strong focus on design and innovation, a very important aspect of our work is to ensure the sustainability of the Channapatna craft. This was critical so that skilled artisans did not leave the craft for more modern day avenues.
Varnam design நல்லா இருக்கு ரொம்ப என்ஜாய் பண்ணி பண்ணுவோம் அவங்களுக்கு நான் 5 வருஷமா கத்துக்கிட்ட Varnam தான் drawing
पहले जो कुछ है सिर्फ बैंगल्स रिंग वैसा ही चलता था अभी जो है पूरा चेंज है काम करने का इंटरेस्ट होता है नया नया काम आता है
ಕಾರ್ತಿಕ್ ಸರ್ ಶಾಂಪಲ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಡ್ರಾಯಿಂಗ್ ತಗೋಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೇನಾದ್ರು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಕಾರ್ತಿಕ್ ಸರ್ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹಿಂಗೆಲ್ಲ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಆವಾಗ ನಾವು ಇನ್ನೂ ಒಂದು ಚೂರು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕಲಿತೀವಿ ಕೆಲಸ.
For me, this is the best part about working in Channapatna is to get to know the artisans, to have a dialogue with them, to work with them on the designs. And this is what makes Varnam a little more different from others who are working in the same field.
ಟ್ರೆಡಿಷನಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟಿಗೆ ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಟಚನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅದನ್ನು ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲೂ ಕಿಚನಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ರೂಮಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಆಟ ಆಡೋದಕ್ಕಾಗ್ಬೋದು ಚನ್ನಪಟ್ಟಣ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡಿಕ್ರಾಫ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ನು ನ್ಯೂ ಇನೋವೇಷನ್ ಥರ ಅದನ್ನು ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ತುಂಬ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಅದು. ಸೊ ಅದು ನಾವು ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸರ್ವೆ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೂ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ತದೆ.
Whenever I go abroad or if I want to gift a child that I know something really special, then I definitely come to Varnam because the kind of toys that you get here are Channapatna toys, but they are toys with a twist. It's wonderful stuff to be taking with me wherever I go, and I would love to spread the message of Varnam everywhere.
Our flagship store at Bengaluru is perhaps the only store of its kind that is dedicated to showcasing the versatility of this traditional toy craft.
I like Varnam's range of products that can be used in the interior space. They've been designed uniquely with a fusion of the traditional lacquer work with the fusion of different materials. And as an architect, I really enjoy exploring that chance to introduce an Indian accent to a space that's unique and it's not found anywhere else.
Varnam truly believes in the Made in India story. At Varnam, we are proudly Indian, we are truly handcrafted.
Over to you, Karthik.
Good morning. I hope people were awake during that film. My name is Karthik, and thank you so much for joining me here to understand our journey of in the last, I think it's the 11th year now of working in the field of Channapatna. Are we going to play the presentation? They'll play it? So my backstory is that I come from a very traditional South Indian family in Bombay, and incidentally I got admission in the JJ School of Architecture, but my father didn't want me to study architecture, so I studied computer engineering. But all I knew to do is turn on and turn off a computer. So that's 4 years of computer engineering that went completely waste, because all I did during class was take part in extracurricular activities. But I think you guys are very lucky. I presume a lot of you are design and architecture students. So all I can tell you is it took me a midlife crisis to start Varnam. You guys are very lucky because I spent 14 years of my life doing things that I enjoyed, but not what I was qualified to do. And you guys are lucky that you're starting something that you're passionate about. So don't take this opportunity for granted because not everyone got to study what they wanted to. So take what you do very seriously because not all of us had that opportunity. So yeah, that's a little background, context to this. So I'll try and be very quick, and at the end of it, if you guys have any questions, we can have an interactive session. I would love to answer it. This is to chronicle some of, so Channapatna, as you would know, is everybody knows Channapatna, and it's one of the few surviving crafts in the country today. So I'll take you through the next slide. I think he might need some help to go from one to the other. Yeah. So as I go, he may not be able to judge. So to set a context, is everyone aware of Channapatna toys here? Okay. So everyone associates, when you say Channapatna, the automatic second word that comes with it is toys. Even when the press writes about it, it's always Channapatna toys. Nobody calls it the Channapatna craft. And that was the starting point for me, saying that why is a craft that can do so many things associated only with toys? And that became the starting point for me to interact and explore this craft. Incidentally, the Channapatna craft is just one of the 8 crafts in India which also make toys, but all of them are dying or on the verge of extinction. Channapatna is no different with the way things are going. I'm not sure if this craft will survive for the next 5 years also. Especially with COVID, more than 50% of the craft people have left the craft. So it's not a very encouraging phenomenon, and which means that all of you as architects need to include crafts in your profession, otherwise our crafts will die, and that's what makes us unique. Right. So Tipu Sultan is the gentleman who's an 18th century ruler of Mysore, who brought the craft to India. And this was in the 18th century. I must tell you, as someone who's working for the last more than a decade in the crafts, 80% of the crafts in India have been brought in, and the people who work in it is the Muslim community. And that is a reality, and that is something that, whether it be textiles, embroidery, weaving, most of the crafts in Karnataka, whether it's Ganjifa, whether it's Kasuti, whether it's Channapatna, whether it's, except for Ilkal also, a lot of them have the Muslim community that's involved in it. And this is the beauty of the diversity of India as a country. And I always bring this in when I say, because considering the amount of disharmony that's there towards a religion, we need to understand that every religion brings a beauty and diversity to our craft, to our food, to our fashion, to our culture. And that's very critical. Otherwise, we'll all be homogenized like McDonald's. Every outlet will be the same. There's no difference. And this is very important for you guys to understand, appreciate the cultural diversity that exists within India and not take it for granted. So Tipu Sultan brought this in the 18th century. He was in love with making toys, and so he brought in artisans from Persia to start making dolls. The craft that Tipu Sultan brought in is very different from what you see today. It's very, very different. So he brought them in to make dolls. Yeah. It started with the hand and feet, where they used to carve and make the dolls with the hand. And then what happened, if you get a time to see the installation, you will see the journey of the craft. Around 1950, the Mysore Maharaja sent someone from one of the artisans from the Muslim community to Japan to learn the craft of a lathe. So a lathe is a machine which runs horizontally, on which you load, as you will see in the video, you load the wood and then you make the carvings. But that is what exists today. In the early days, in the 1950s, what they learned from Japan and came was they used to use the hand and the feet to constantly turn wood, and then they made the toys. Next. This is what they started around 60 years ago, and this is what they do with the use of machines now, where the lathe is driven by the power, and then they use their hand. It's still a hand skill craft, because they still use the hand to carve, to mix the colors, to apply the colors. Right. So just to explain what the earlier slide meant in terms of shift. Well, in the 70s, what happened in the late 1950s, early 1960s, Fab India started a revolution in the country. And along with Fab India, there were a lot of women from Delhi who were involved in reviving crafts. And as Fab India started exporting a lot of crafts, there was a lot of genuine interest in Indian crafts. And because of that, exports began. Now with exports, what happened is a lot of the foreigners wanted products to be done in a certain way, standard, it to have a lot of precision. So they realized with the hand, it's not possible. And also you can't do the volume. So there was a shift that happened where they shifted to using machines and power to turn the lathe, and then they started using the hand to make the products. Now the result of that was that a lot of the factory units believed that women can't work on the machines. So the women would do the smaller items like beads at home, and the men started running the machines. So the craft, which was initially where both the male and the female were involved in it, a lot of men started working in the craft and the women were relegated to the sides. Today the way the craft is that it's struggling for survival. And there is an urgent need to bring in revival, to revive the craft. Now, why do you need to revive the craft? The craft sector in India, and these are the figures that I have of more than 3 to 4 years old. I don't have recent figures, but around 3 to 4 years old, it was estimated that the craft sector was around $15 billion worldwide. In India. And worldwide, it was around $400 billion. And our share in it is less than 2%. For a country that has the most diverse crafts than any other country in the world, our share in the global market is less than 2%. And with the way things are going, it may only become lesser. And that's such a pity because we don't realize the importance of what our crafts can do. And with the demonetization and GST, it has only taken the crafts further towards extinction. So there's an urgent need to revive the craft. Now, why do you need to revive the craft? India traditionally has been a dual society wherein most of the villagers worked in farming, which is the #1 source of generation. And then during the seasons where they could not farm, they would sit at home and they would work on crafts, whether it was weaving, embroidery. So a lot of them were engaged in 2 professions. Now, when the British came to India, what they did is they broke most of our handlooms. And they ensured that the weavers and the craftspeople, whatever they worked on, was only exported. And they made it so unaffordable that Indians could no longer afford to buy our own handloom products. So in order to make it affordable, what the British did is they got power looms to India, and you had a lot of mills that which started making power loom products, which made it cheaper so we started consuming cheaper products, and our own hand-woven handloom products and textiles would go abroad. And that is the irony of India today, which is why people can't afford handlooms right from the 1930s. Right. Yeah, so the reality today is that most of the craftspeople, and especially with COVID, a lot of the people in the sector have left the craft. They have gone on to easier jobs. They have gone on to becoming tailors, driving Ola, Uber cabs, or joined a garment factory because they get pick up and drop, they get lunch. A lot of these benefits, which is very difficult to get in the craft sector. Okay, so the context aside, let me take you to what the craft is. So this is the raw material that's used in the craft. If you get a chance in the installation, you'll see the actual wood that we use. It's called Alemara or Raitia tinctoria. Now this is the wood that the government grew in and around Mandya district and Ramnagara for the artisans to use it. Now why this wood? This wood is very eco-friendly. It cultivates very fast. It has very little impact on the environment. Whatever wood is used, if anything, the sawdust is reused in the incense industry. Any pieces that are small are reused in every way in the craft. And it's a wood which is very light on the environment. And it cultivates and grows very fast. So the government encourages them to use this craft. Also, this wood. And also the beauty of this wood is it imbibes the color very beautifully. So the shine that you see on the wood, you will not get that shine if you use teak wood or any other form of wood, because those are very strong wood. These, because of the texture, they soak in the color very nicely, and this color and wood is very, very distinctive only to Karnataka. You will not find it anywhere else in the country or the world. Now, if you guys see the installation outside, you will see there's a lot of, or even the videos, you would see there's a lot of finesse and polish in the craft. I remember when we had gone for an international toy fair 2 years ago in Germany, we were in the hall where there were only wooden products from all across the world. And everyone who would pass by actually thought that we were a ceramic stroke glass toy maker. And many of them came and said, why are you exhibiting glass toys, or why is it ceramic? And when they touched it, they realized it was wood. So they couldn't believe that something like this could come from India, where the shine is so much that it would actually light up even more. And that's because of this. It's shellac, it's a natural resin, it's actually the excreta of an insect, which is left behind on the bark of a tree, and that's collected and that's mixed with the colors to create the products that we see here. This is called the screw pine tree, which is also locally grown, and this is what is used to give a final finish after the color is applied. Yeah, we are one of the few organizations that use natural dyes. If you go to Channapatna, everyone will say, sir, we use natural colors. And if you just test any of those colors, I can assure you 90% of the times the colors are not natural. They'll just go to the nearest shop where the colors are available and pick it up. And that's very dangerous, because especially if you're making toys, then a lot of the kids are today allergic, there can be reactions. So, and the artisans can't afford to test the colors, because testing colors for global standards internationally is extremely expensive, which artisans can't always afford. So we are one of the few organizations that insists our colors are tested. We use indigo as one of the colors to give black. We also use haldi, kumkum to get your reds and yellows. We also use the root of a tree called Ratanjot, which gets the browns. So essentially the craft works with 6 colors, which are the warmer colors, and these are natural dyes. The moment you see any other colors, which are violets, pinks, turquoise, be rest assured those colors are not natural, right? So I'll let you guys read this. These are some of the issues that are currently there in the craft. Right. The next. So a lot of times if you go to Channapatna, you will actually, if you go to a typical stall there, where you should ideally be seeing toys of only Channapatna. Channapatna is a GI tag, which is a geographical indicator. Have you guys heard of what a GI tag is? So GI tag is an indication given by the world body, which indicates that this craft is very, very specific to this region of Channapatna. It can only be made in Channapatna. If you're calling it Channapatna toys, it has to be made in Channapatna by the artisans from Channapatna. If you do it anywhere else, it's illegal. So tomorrow China can't start doing toys outside and call it Channapatna toys, because it's a GI tagged craft. Right. So currently if you go to Channapatna, you will actually see a lot of the toys that the people sell there. You will see these terracotta dolls from Tamil Nadu. You will see dolls from Andhra. You will see shisham wood dolls that come from UP. You will see plastic toys, and you will see wooden toys that come from China. And that's the sad state of affairs. A lot of people assume, now this is a typical, if you go to a stall in Channapatna, this is what you will see. Now these are dolls from China. And people assume that these are Channapatna toys. These are not Channapatna toys, they are not done the traditional way. And this is what, these as you see here, these are from Uttar Pradesh. And they are sold in Channapatna as Channapatna toys. Now this is the ignorance that people are faced with when they go to these, and people the shopkeepers take advantage of that, because it's very expensive, time consuming and hard work to do toys the traditional way in Channapatna. And people are not willing to pay for it. So if you want something for 200 rupees, they'll just buy and sell. Keep a margin of 50 bucks and they'll sell the toys. Right? So as consumers, it's very important when you're in Channapatna not to bargain, not to ask for discounts, because that is what is killing the craft. I'm sure all of you have heard of Kaveri. It's right down the road. If you get a chance, please do take a look at the Channapatna toys that are sold there, and also take a look at what we've done, just to get an idea of the finish, the quality, the effort that goes into making. This is some of the dolls that they do. These are the traditional dolls. Channapatna is also known for making gombes, as they call it, for the Dasara festival. And that was one of the key seasons for the Channapatna artisans. And this is what they used to make, which now if you go, you will still not find a lot of these in Channapatna, because people have stopped doing it. So in this context, Varnam, we started our work around 10 years ago, 10 and a half years ago. We are very much a for-profit enterprise. We are a social enterprise, which means that we work in the social sector. And our attempt has been that how do we revive this 200-year-old craft and make it modern and contemporary? Well, until 2 years ago, I used to work with more than 40 artisans pre-COVID. Now it's drastically reduced by 50%. We can only support 20 artisans because of various reasons, as you know. And one of the beauty of our organizations is more than 50% of the women in our units are women. I mean, in our 50% of the artisans in our units are women. Right. And this is what we stand for, is that you have to ensure that the craft is reinterpreted in modern day aesthetics. It has to be relevant, it has to be utilitarian, so that people don't just look at it as decorative objects, but they actually experience it. So what I'm going to take you through is to give you a sense of what is it that makes us different in the Channapatna sector. There are four reasons. One is innovation in product design, which I'll quickly take you through. A very strong visual communication design, a social media presence, and a focused retail presence. Right. We have been fortunate enough to win awards for some of our products, and I think one of the reasons for that is we've been always creating signature motifs. Now this craft is a craft that works with toys. So I was very clear that when we created products, we have to use them as toys. To put it in a simple line, toys with a twist. I still remember when we did our first collection and took it to Fab India, they had told us, ye bikega nahi because this is too quirky. People will not like it. But we wanted to stay true to the essence of the craft and maintain that toy-like charm. And trust me, even a lot of adults, when they enter the store and they see the products, they start smiling. You know, so we don't want to take ourselves so seriously that everything does not have to be looking like a Mughal minaret, right? So these are some of the signatures that we created. So every time we create a character, we ensure we reinterpret in various ways, whether it's the sparrows, the oingstons or the pigs, the owls or the elephants. So I'll quickly show you some of the products that we've created in these signatures. So these are our kurvis or gubis here, which we've created it as a cheese platter. The next one. Yeah, this is again one of our award-winning products. So this essentially was a piggy bank, is one of the most popular toys. So how do I interpret a toy as tableware? So the same piggy bank became a coaster, a salt and pepper, a napkin ring holder. And people, when they walked in or looked at it, they would think it's a piggy bank, but every time they opened or played around with it, they realized it's a functional product. One of the other things that we've also done is, in order to keep the craft alive, we've done a lot of collaborations. So for example, here, we've collaborated with the Lambadi women from Tamil Nadu to create board games. So it's a fusion of two different crafts, the Lambadi embroidery craft and the Channapatna craft. We've also done toys which are education based. Now, I mean, everyone is aware of the Montessori school of education, which is very specific in terms of how the toys have to be designed. But when we interpreted those, we interpreted it in the Indian context. So you will always find some of the toys have a very Indian name. So we called it the Katri Gupes just to have fun. Of course, Katri Gupe is an area in Bangalore. But we just felt that it was so nice and to have a local flavor to it. And more often than not, our customers and clients remember us the toys by the names because it's memorable. So they would walk in saying, I want to pick up the Katri Gupe stacker. So this was created as a family of 4, which was not gender conforming, which didn't indicate a typical family structure. And we created toys that one could stack around with and create toys of their own and a family of their own. We also created products that were for contemporary occasions. So many people like to take a wine bottle when they're going to meet friends or for a dinner out or for a housewarming. So we decided to create a little wine bottle holder wherein you could just put your wine bottle and take it. Now this is the same traditional craft which was a doll, but it's interpreted in a modern aesthetic today. Or even a little flower vase like this, which is very clean and very minimal in terms of design, but very contemporary. We also started creating products around seasons. What's interesting is for a festival or like Christmas, the artisans who work on it are Muslims or Hindus, and they all come together to create these products. And this is Christmas is one of our best-selling seasons because all the toys that we create during Christmas are appreciated all by the world over. In order to bring the youth towards the craft, what we also started doing, and in order to, we realized that a lot of people had started imitating our work and designs. So in order to create a distinct identity, we also created like this. We created block prints which are inspired from our toys. So in this case, it was the gubbies or the kurbis which are hand block printed. And a lot of youngsters then started approaching and buying this and saying, what are these toys about and what is Channapatna about? So it created a certain amount of interest and a nostalgia around the Channapatna craft. So this was our toy, which was also interpreted as a block print shirt. We also started creating very minimal pendants and jewelry and accessories that were modern, which would encourage younger women to consume and play around with the craft. And in terms of innovation, we also try to fuse this with other crafts. So what you see inside is a silver inlay craft, which comes from Bidri, and we fuse that with the Channapatna craft. So again, this was quite innovative that nobody was really working with two different crafts in Karnataka and creating products. We've also gone a step further and created, we're doing a lot of interior projects. This was something that we had done in Bombay, and we had created an entire bed using the Channapatna craft. This was something that we'd created for an award for the India Story Awards in Calcutta, which was inspired, the idea was to take inspiration from the stripes of the tiger, which was their main motive. And since every tiger has different stripes, none of them have the same combination of stripes, we took inspiration from that so that every person who got an award, it would be unique, just like the craft is. So each person would get a different combination of the stripes. So that was the ethos of it, and for the first time we'd created an award which was made with a wooden toy craft like Channapatna. If you guys have been to Fatty Bao in Indiranagar, we also create some of the table accessories for them. So this was also interesting because Manu Chandra, who's ex-Olive Group, so they also approached us to create a lot of, and we were also told that a lot of people who would go to the restaurants would also end up flicking or robbing these, and they would come back to us, we just lost 10 salt and pepper shakers, could you make few more, because we've lost them. And the customers loved it so much, they would just take it with them. Right, around 5 years ago, we also started saying that, hey, we've been doing a lot of contemporary work with Channapatna, but what about reviving the lost stories or the lost traditions of Channapatna? And which is why we started creating these toys. Today, if you go, you will see a lot more artisans working with it. This is extremely tedious because it's hand painted and takes a lot of time and effort, and it costs money. So a lot of artisans had stopped doing it because they weren't getting the right wages for it. So around 5 to 6 years ago, we started reviving a lot of the dolls which were very popular in the 80s and people had stopped doing it. So these are the Keel Kudres, which is inspired from a local form of South India. We also created these, what we call the Raja Rani Gombes, and we have a lot of foreigners also who love buying this because these are dolls from North Karnataka, if you look at them. And we've also done a lot of multi-craft. So these are, again, this is the Bunde series for which we again got an award. We not only did it using the Bidri craft or the Channapatna craft or the block print craft, the idea is to take inspiration from the raindrops and create multiple products using Indian craft forms. And one of the other things that you would see about Varnam is, while a lot of times when you want to gift Indian handicrafts, they are not well packaged, and a lot of times you want to present something which is well packaged, well designed. So we feel that it was very important to do a strong communication design. So if you look at our products, I'll also show you how our packaging is, and incidentally we've also got awards for our packaging. So this was one of the packaging ideas that we did, where the moment if you wanted to gift a product, you would have information on the product, it would be well packaged, so you would feel proud about giving something that's locally done and handmade. It would also have details on how to use the product, where it is done, what are the little details of the craft. And also it was very easy to package. So everything was flat. If people wanted to go abroad, they don't want to carry heavy boxes. So we would give it flat to them. At the time of gifting, they could just put it together and gift it. So structurally and economically, it was very viable to carry these anywhere. They were lightweight. And for some of them who didn't want to carry, we also created these little doggy bags. So a lot of times when people are gifting, they would insist that we give them some of our packaging so that they could gift these products to their friends. And they would take a lot of pride saying, this is from Bangalore, this is from Karnataka. And yeah, that's our Instagram handle if you ever get a chance. We've been one of the few organizations that have been very open about promoting our designs online. A lot of times designers are very wary. If I put my designs online, then people will copy it, which happens with us. But that doesn't stop us from promoting, because the more people share our pictures, there is more awareness that's created around the craft, and that's good for the craft. And for us, being a very strong social media presence has helped people in terms of also communicating what the craft is. A lot more designers and companies have now started taking interest in Channapatna craft and coming there to work on the craft. Yeah, and as always, like I say, I think we are extremely proud that we've taken a local craft farm and worked with it. And I think that's what is so important about us as designers, as architects, as interior designers, that we need to carry forward those stories which are unique and not try to really ape the West, because they are looking at us for inspiration. You know, so I think we need to take in pride in where we come from and promote it and wear it on our sleeves. If you ever get a chance, do visit our store. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Karthik, for taking us a peek into your journey of Channapatna toys and how you've revived and how you've gotten a new life into it. It's truly inspiring for all of us to introspect and look into the way we do our work and how we focus. Thank you again. Guys, we have the installation called Gubbi Galahadu by Karthik, which is just next to the Bayalu space. So you would like to interact with Karthik, he's available here. You want to ask any questions to him, please go ahead, or we can have him interact at the installation itself. Anybody has any questions?
It's not really a question, but it's more like a comment. I thought it was really interesting to, in the installation, that all the gubbies are not finished. So you actually see, the kind of effort that goes into, the block, the carving, and then, you kind of see this entire finished product. So for me, it was the first time I actually saw a process in that sense, and it's a fantastic initiative that you kind of put it up like you have. So thank you for that.
Thanks. I'm glad you got that. The idea also is to, incidentally, I must tell you, some of the most product innovations that we have done has been with the women artisans, and I intrinsically prefer working with the women artisans because most of them are in their 20s and they are very open to experimenting. A lot of the established male artisans, when you go to them, they are not very open to interpreting the craft in a different way. So they want to do the same thing again and again and again. So for me, it's been, all this is possible because we have a bunch of women who are very excited about doing something new every day. Thanks. Yes. Do you want to ask something? Okay, I'm available outside if you guys want to ask me any questions.
Okay, we have a small memento to Karthik from Triple ID and from all of us. I would like Akshara to have it given. Thank you everybody. Thank you, Akshara.
Maybe I should talk about those bags. Yeah.
Sorry guys, there's a small...
Just one little thing. I'm not sure if a lot of you know, but 2 years ago, 2019 was when we also did a Designuru here, and we had introduced the Ecology vertical then, and the Mistry, the whole team is such a fantastic team really, and they had worked on the program even 2 years ago, and I just wanted to make a mention that they have reused every panel that they had printed then 2 years ago to make these bags that they're giving out as souvenirs. So I think it's so fascinating that these really small steps can really make a difference, and I just wanted to just mention that because I think it's really, really beautiful.
Thank you.